You sit at the kitchen table. Morning sunlight warms your hands as you unwrap your blood pressure cuff. You've done this 100 times before. You've taken your medication. You've cut back on salt. You walk every afternoon. And yet, the numbers flash back at you, higher than yesterday. Again. It doesn't make sense, does it? You're doing everything right. But what if the real problem is sitting quietly on your plate? A slice of deli meat, a spoonful of pickled vegetables, a piece of toast, a little dipping sauce, just the normal things we eat. But they may be silently pushing your heart to work harder every single day. In this video, we're going to uncover 4 common foods that could be quietly raising your blood pressure. And more importantly, I'll show you simple swaps you can make, starting today. Stay with me until the end, because once you understand these hidden triggers, you'll finally have the power to eat for your heart, your strength, and your future. 1. When medication isn't enough. The problem starts at the table. You wake up, take your morning pill, sip some water, and carry on with your day. You've followed the doctor's advice. You've cut back on salty snacks. You even stopped adding salt to your eggs. But when you check your blood pressure later that afternoon, it's still high. A small sigh escapes your lips. You wonder quietly, what else am I doing wrong? For many older adults, this frustration is all too familiar. But here's the deeper truth. Medication alone isn't always enough. High blood pressure is not just about what we remove, like salt or stress. It's also about what we unknowingly invite to our table. Research shows that nearly 70% of the sodium in an average American diet doesn't come from the salt shaker. It comes from packaged and processed foods, foods we consider convenient, harmless, or even healthy. A slice of ham, a can of soup, a handful of crackers. These small choices quietly build pressure inside your arteries, even when you're trying to do everything right. Imagine your blood vessels like garden hoses. The more sodium you consume, the more water your body holds onto. That extra fluid makes the hose swell, forces your heart to pump harder, and gradually wears out your system. And you may not feel it until one day you do. But here's the good news. Awareness is powerful. You can start today by reading labels. Choose low sodium or no salt added options when possible. Pick fresh or frozen vegetables instead of canned. Cook simple meals at home when you can. These tiny changes, done daily, are more powerful than most people think. And this is just the beginning. Because the very first food on our list, one that's likely sitting in your fridge right now, is something millions of people eat every single morning without a second thought. Let's take a closer look. 2. Processed meats. The salt hidden behind the flavor. You open the fridge. It's almost lunchtime. You pull out a pack of deli turkey, maybe a few slices of ham. It's quick, easy, and familiar. You've been doing this for years. You make a sandwich, sit down, and take a bite. The flavor is satisfying, salty, savory, comforting. But what you don't taste is what matters most. Processed meats are one of the biggest hidden sources of sodium in the American diet. Even when they don't taste too salty, they're often packed with preservatives like sodium nitrate and sodium phosphate to keep them shelf-stable and flavorful. Just 2 slices of deli meat can contain more than 600 milligrams of sodium. Add a slice of cheese and a piece of bread, and your simple sandwich could push you over 1,000 milligrams, nearly half your daily recommended intake in one meal. The danger here isn't dramatic. It's subtle. It builds over time. Your heart doesn't scream. It whispers. Maybe you feel a little more tired after climbing stairs. Maybe your ankles swell a little more at the end of the day. These are signs your body is holding on to too much fluid, working harder to push blood through vessels that are under more pressure than they should be. One large study published in Circulation found that people who consumed high levels of processed meats had a significantly higher risk of developing hypertension and cardiovascular disease, even when controlling for other factors like exercise and weight. So what can you do? Start small. Instead of reaching for processed deli meat, try roasting a chicken breast at home, slicing it thin, and storing it for sandwiches. Choose tuna packed in water with no added salt. Better yet, replace one meat-based meal a day with plant-based protein like beans or lentils. These options give your heart a break, and your taste buds won't miss the salt as much as you think. And now, let's move to the next food on our list. This one seems innocent, even traditional. It's often served with love, with memories, and with a heavy dose of hidden sodium. You've probably had it on your plate since childhood. Let's talk about pickled foods. 3. Pickled vegetables and kimchi. The salty taste of memories, the hidden load on the heart. You sit down to dinner, and next to your warm bowl of rice is a small dish of something crisp, tangy, and familiar. Maybe it's pickles, maybe it's sauerkraut, maybe it's kimchi passed down from your grandmother's recipe. You smile as you take a bite. It's more than food. It's memory. It's comfort. It's tradition. But for your heart, it can also be a quiet burden. Fermented vegetables are often seen as healthy, and in some ways, they are. They're full of probiotics, fiber, and flavor. But what many people overlook is just how much sodium they carry. Traditional pickling methods rely heavily on salt, sometimes 2 tablespoons or more per batch, to preserve the vegetables and give them their signature taste. A single serving of kimchi or pickled cucumber can contain 300 to 500 milligrams of sodium. And let's be honest, most of us don't stop at one serving, especially when the dish is refreshing and pairs so well with warm food. When eaten regularly, these pickled favorites can quietly contribute to water retention, swelling in the ankles, and increased pressure in the arteries. You may notice that your fingers feel puffier in the evening, or that your shoes feel a bit tighter by dinner time. That's your body holding on to excess fluid, trying to balance out the salt. In a 2020 study published in the Journal of Hypertension, researchers found that high consumption of fermented salty foods was associated with significantly elevated blood pressure, especially in older adults who were more salt-sensitive. The solution isn't to erase tradition, it's to adjust it with care. Try rinsing your pickled vegetables before eating them to reduce surface sodium. You can also make your own version at home using less salt and more vinegar, garlic, or ginger for flavor. Add fresh vegetables or a small salad to the side of your plate to balance things out. Most importantly, be mindful of how often pickled foods are showing up on your plate, not just how much. And next, we turn to a food that rarely tastes salty at all. It looks innocent, even sweet, but it may be sneaking into your diet and working against your heart without you even realizing it. Let's talk about refined carbs and processed snacks. 4. White bread and salty snacks. Sugar and salt in disguise. It's mid-afternoon. You're not hungry enough for a full meal, but you need a little something. So you reach into the pantry and grab a few crackers, or maybe a slice of white bread with some jam. Harmless, right? Just a snack to hold you over. But by evening, you feel bloated. Maybe your ankles feel tight in your socks. Maybe your blood pressure reads higher than it did this morning. And you wonder, how could something so small make such a big impact? Here's the hidden truth. Many refined carbohydrates, white bread, salted crackers, cookies, breakfast cereals, carry a double threat. They may not seem salty, but they're often made with added sodium to preserve freshness. At the same time, they spike your blood sugar rapidly, triggering your body to release more insulin. When insulin goes up, your kidneys begin to hold on to more sodium. That means more fluid, more pressure in your blood vessels, and a heavier workload for your heart. You may not taste the salt, but your arteries can feel it. One large-scale study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that diets high in refined carbs were linked to a higher incidence of hypertension, particularly in adults over 60. And the more often these foods appeared in daily snacks and breakfasts, the greater the risk became. But the solution doesn't have to be complicated. Instead of white bread, try whole grain or sprouted grain bread, which digests slower and contains less added salt. Swap out crackers for a handful of unsalted nuts or a piece of fruit with fiber. And most importantly, read the label. If sodium is one of the top ingredients, even in sweet snacks, it may not be as innocent as it looks. Now let's turn to a flavor you know well. It's not hidden. It's front and center in every dish. It brings everything together. But in high amounts, it can pull your blood pressure apart. Let's talk about sauces and condiments. 5. Fish sauce and soy sauce. A salty drizzle, a heavy toll on the heart dinner is almost ready. You set the table, bring over a warm plate of rice and vegetables. But something feels missing. So you reach for that familiar bottle, soy sauce, or maybe fish sauce. Just a dash, just a drizzle. That's all. It brings the whole meal together, doesn't it? And yet, behind that rich, savory flavor is a dose of sodium your heart wishes you'd reconsider. These condiments are staples in many kitchens, especially in Asian households, but they are incredibly concentrated sources of salt. Just 1 tablespoon of soy sauce can contain up to 900 milligrams of sodium. Fish sauce, even more, often turn to 100 milligrams in a single spoonful. And we rarely stop at just one. Unlike a salty chip or cracker, sauces don't always taste aggressively salty. They blend in, soak into rice or meat, and disappear. But your bloodstream remembers. That one drizzle can raise your sodium intake dramatically, leading to water retention, elevated blood pressure, and more strain on your heart over time. A study from the Journal of Clinical Hypertension found that older adults who frequently used high-sodium condiments had significantly higher systolic blood pressure than those who limited them, even when overall diet quality was similar. The impact is real, and it adds up with every meal. But change doesn't mean giving up flavor. It means redefining it. Try using low-sodium versions of soy sauce. Mix sauces with fresh lemon juice, garlic, or vinegar to stretch flavor with less salt. Experiment with herbs like basil, cilantro, and rosemary. If you use fish sauce, try cutting the portion in half and balancing it with lime or chili. These small swaps protect your heart without sacrificing the joy of a good meal. Now that we've looked at the obvious and not so obvious ways sodium can sneak into your day, let's shift the focus. Because avoiding salt is only half the story. To truly support your blood pressure, we also need to talk about what to add to your plate. Let's look at the power of potassium. 6. Rebalancing minerals. It's not just about less salt, but more potassium. You've started eating less salt. You're skipping the chips, choosing low-sodium soup, and cooking more meals at home. But still, your blood pressure hovers higher than it should. It's discouraging. You ask yourself, am I doing something wrong, or is this just part of aging? The truth is, reducing sodium is only half the equation. To truly balance your blood pressure, your body needs help from another mineral, potassium. Potassium works like nature's pressure valve. It helps your kidneys flush out excess sodium through urine. It also relaxes blood vessel walls, which lowers tension and eases the burden on your heart. But here's the problem. Most older adults in America don't get enough potassium from their daily diets. In fact, according to data from the National Health and Nutrition Examinations Survey, less than 2% of Americans meet the recommended daily intake for potassium. That means even if you're cutting back on salt, your body may not have the tools it needs to process what remains. So how do you know if you're low on potassium? The signs can be subtle. You might feel tired or weak, especially in your legs. You may notice more muscle cramps at night, or maybe your heart feels like it skips a beat now and then. These aren't always dramatic, but they're your body's quiet way of asking for help. Fortunately, potassium is found in simple, wholesome foods. Add a banana to your breakfast. Include leafy greens like spinach or Swiss chard in your lunch. Swap out chips for a baked sweet potato or roasted butternut squash. Snack on avocado, beans, or even a handful of dried apricots. These aren't exotic or expensive, just honest foods your body understands. Remember, it's not about perfection. It's about giving your heart what it needs, one meal at a time. And now that you've started to see how both sodium and potassium shape your pressure from the inside, let's bring it all together. In the next part, we'll explore what a heart-friendly meal really looks like, and how to build one without giving up the joy of eating. 7. A loving meal. Less salt, more life. It's Sunday afternoon. The kitchen smells warm and familiar, like garlic sizzling in olive oil, a pot of rice steaming gently on the stove, vegetables being chopped with care. Maybe you're cooking for your partner, or maybe just for yourself. Either way, there's love in the way you prepare each dish. But sometimes, love shows up not in what we add, but in what we leave out. When we think of food as comfort, we often reach for salt to bring out flavor. Yet we forget that food can still be deeply satisfying without pushing our blood pressure into dangerous territory. In fact, meals low in sodium but rich in whole, fresh ingredients can do more than just fill the stomach. They can help heal the body. Studies from the American Heart Association have consistently shown that diets centered on fresh vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, and healthy fats, like those in the DASH or Mediterranean diet, can lower systolic blood pressure by up to 11 points. That's the kind of difference some medications aim for, but through food, it comes without side effects. The best part? You don't have to give up flavor or tradition. You simply shift the focus. Use fresh herbs like rosemary, thyme, or basil to elevate your dishes. Add acidity with lemon juice, vinegar, or tomatoes instead of reaching for the salt shaker. Grill or steam vegetables with garlic and olive oil. Roast chicken with cracked pepper and citrus zest. These simple techniques bring depth and richness to your meals and kindness to your arteries. A heart-healthy meal doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be intentional. Because each time you sit down to eat, you're not just feeding your body. You're choosing how you want to feel tomorrow. More energy, less swelling, clearer thinking, steadier steps. All beginning with what's on your plate today. And now, let's take one last step together. Because beyond ingredients and numbers, there's something even more powerful in lowering blood pressure and protecting your heart. It's a rhythm, a habit, a way of living. Let's talk about daily rituals that restore not just your health, but your sense of peace. 8. Habits are medicine. Live slowly, lower the pressure. It's early evening. You've finished dinner. The dishes are done. The house is quiet. You sit down in your favorite chair, a cup of warm tea in hand, and let out a long breath. The day had its small stresses, but in this moment, everything feels still. Moments like these aren't just peaceful, they're healing. We often focus on food and medication when it comes to managing blood pressure. But there's something just as important that's often overlooked: the rhythm of your life, your daily pace, the habits you carry without noticing. The small rituals that either calm your heart or quietly push it harder. Chronic stress, even low-level stress, triggers your body's fight-or-flight response. That means higher levels of cortisol, faster heartbeats, narrower blood vessels. Over time, this subtle pressure adds up, increasing your risk for hypertension, even if your diet is clean. But the reverse is also true. Gentle habits, slow mornings, evening walks, mindful breathing can lower blood pressure naturally. A study published in Hypertension Journal found that just 10 minutes of daily meditation lowered systolic blood pressure by an average of 4 to 5 points in adults over 60. That's the power of a quiet mind. So what might this look like for you? Take a few minutes each morning to sit in silence, breathe deeply, and set a gentle intention for the day. Walk outside without your phone. Listen to music that brings back good memories. Stretch before bed. Write down one thing you're grateful for. These aren't big changes, but they signal to your nervous system: you are safe, you are steady, you are in control. Because true healing doesn't only happen in the kitchen or at the doctor's office, it happens in the quiet, steady rhythm of how you live your days. And as we close this journey together, there's one final reflection I'd love to share. One that ties everything back to what really matters. Not just numbers on a screen, but how you feel in your own body and how you care for it with love. Let's talk about that. In our final thoughts, you've made it to the end, and that means something. You didn't just watch a video about blood pressure. You showed up for yourself, for your heart, for the days you still want to walk without pain, rise without dizziness, live without fear. Sometimes the smallest things we do, reading a label, choosing a banana over a bag of chips, taking 5 deep breaths before dinner, are the things that change everything. So today, let your next meal be a message to your body: I care about you. Let your daily habits be gentle reminders: I'm still learning, still growing, still worthy of better health. If this video spoke to you, I hope you'll share it with someone you love. A neighbor, a sister, a friend. Because healing doesn't just happen in isolation. It happens in community. And if you'd like to keep walking this path with us towards strength, calm, and clarity, click subscribe. We have more stories, more truths, and more hope to share with you. Until next time, be kind to yourself. Your heart is listening.